Black magic. You've got to know, got to show, it's time to roll. So just tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you want. So just tell me what you want to hear.
Welcome back to another edition of RatG TV, and this one's been a long time coming. We have with us today, one of the judges of Sing for the Shot. We've got host on both Country 89 and Giant FM, two of the biggest stations in Southern Niagara. Shane Christopher Neal, how you doing, buddy? What did I miss? There's a shit ton I missed there.
No, I mean,
Industry 45.
You're right. Host Industry 45, which is on Giant TV, which is all part of Giant Media. And host at Canadian Music Week, which I know you'd probably forget because it didn't happen this year, like a lot of things.
Right.
Oh, Cannabis, Grow Up Conference, so event host.
Right.
Yeah.
You are an event host. And now,
yeah,
there's been a lot that I've actually wanted to talk to you about with some of the hosting you've done. You got to host an event with someone I've been on stage with, but not the same capacity as you. You were on stage with Ricky Lake?
Oh, right. So
we always forget about me being on Ricky back then.
Right. Okay. So Ricky Lake, the story with Ricky Lake is that she is in the cannabis space. Okay. And so from Cannabis and Grow Up, they were able to reach out with her. They got a big brand, right? So they could reach out to her, and she came and she was on a couple of panels and all that. But the cool story about Ricky Lake is that I was doing, not only was I hosting, but I'm kind of doing this coordination of our speakers, and we have other hosts as well. And I got to get them into their rooms. So we have a green room, obviously. And Ricky Lake comes in, and she's got her name tag, and she goes, "Hi, I'm Ricky Lake." I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. So that was the same time Montel Williams was there, by the way.
That's my next question was Montel.
Yeah. But Ricky is like Montel, and Montel is very what you think of Montel, right? He's I think he's a Marine, right?
Yeah,
so he's
former Navy SEAL, I think, actually.
Navy SEAL, that's what it was, right? Yeah. And just his demeanor is a lot different. Ricky Lake is like is there a bar and what are we eating? So her and I had lunch in Vancouver at the hotel there, the Park Hotel, because that's where the event was. And I got to know her a little bit, and she's just cool, man. The real deal. And I said to her something like, I grew up watching Ricky Lake. She's like, yeah, of course you did. Everybody watched Ricky Lake.
Stupid. I was Oprah. Yeah. I was Oprah basically for teens.
Yeah. So, but yeah, she was awesome. And that's where I kind of met her. And I've done a few things with her over the last couple of years. And she was actually coming back to Toronto this year, but that didn't happen.
COVID. So make that connection for me then. So how do you go from playing drums in local bands to, where you are today? What was the evolution of the SCN brand?
Okay. So first of all, I started playing drums as a teenager because my dad was a drum teacher, and he was a jazz big band teacher, but I wanted to learn how to play Alex Van Halen. So I went and did my own thing, played a bunch of bands. So music was always part of my life. But I got into radio early, and I'm going to tell you a real quick story is that my vision in TV and radio was a sports broadcaster, because I worked for the Welland Tribune covering the Buffalo Sabres. I don't know if you knew this.
No, I had no clue.
So I was a photographer, and it's a long story, but to make the real short of it is that my best friend's father was Wayne Redshaw, who was the editor. His name was Brian. Brian was killed. Okay. He was hit by a car. And so his dad asked me to take his spot and come and work with him. Wayne was working with Associated Press at the time. I was doing photos. I was like a teenager. I was 15 years old going into Buffalo Sabre dressing rooms. Wayne Gretzky was of the Oilers. And I'll never forget, Ryan, I would go to high school and I would have people give me photos from magazines. Can you get this signed? Ray Bork's in town. Can you get this signed? Cam Neely's in town. Paul Coffey's here. And I used to go back to school the next day with all these signed pictures. And I'm an idiot, so I never got anything signed for myself. Because at the time, I was hanging out with these guys. I'm 15-year-old kid. What do I need them for, right? But what happened was, then I wanted to go into radio, TV broadcasting. So I went to Niagara College. But at the time, I was working for CHOW, which is where Giant FM is now. And I was doing production, I think, at first, and then I ended up doing a show, like evening show. We talked to all the whack jobs in Welland on AM radio.
There's a lot of content there.
Right. And so I would, and at the time they had carts and CDs, and I would pick the music, and you'd have like a music sheet, but you'd play it manually. Like now it's all digital, right? Like your breaks are there, you say them, but it's all like, I don't even know what the hell we're playing. I just say what I'm going to say. But back then you pick the songs, you put them in order. And so I got into radio that way. And I always loved music and sports, but I wanted to be a sports broadcaster first. I wanted to host, I'll tell you, I wanted to host Hockey Night in Canada. I swear to God. Dave Hodge is my all-time hero. I got to work with Dave Hodge a couple of events, which is really cool. Right. And then Ron McLean, same thing. But and George Strombolopoulos, well, he's a cool rock and roll dude. So anyway, that was my goal. But you know, and then I just ended up going on the music side of it. So yeah, so that's kind of how it tied together. I was doing sports and I was doing drumming, and I was interested in both sports broadcasting and music broadcasting. So
wow, I mean,
long answer.
No. I mean, it was a long life. I mean, you did a lot there, man. And you know what? I have my connection to Hockey Night in Canada. When I went to college and I went to
you look like Grant Fuhrer.
Well, you know, minus the Jerry curl and a few extra pounds. No, when I was in college back in 96, I went to Humber and I worked part-time at Don Cherry's. I worked for Don.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Tim, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was
very nice. Yeah.
Great guy. I mean, like, very first day he comes back, taps me on the shoulder. I wasn't even expecting it. Dishwasher. And he's like, "Hey, you the new kid?" I'm like, "Oh my God." He's like, "I heard you're a fan." Hands me a what is it, 6x10 glossy of him in blue.
Oh yeah. Oh, and nice.
Yeah.
It was, here's a cool story though, is because I used to go into the press box in Buffalo, and Wayne would stay afterwards because he would be writing a story for Associated Press. So the game would be over. We'd go down to the dressing rooms. I would just hang out. It took me about 2 years to ask a question because I'm a 16-year-old kid.
Right.
But Wayne would say to me, "You know what, ask." And this was time Tom Barrasso was my buddy. He was playing, you know, Paul Sear was there. And the funny thing was Adam Creighton was there, and he lived in Welland, and his father was my principal at Notre Dame.
Right.
So that was just crazy. And anyway, the broadcasters, you know, they had the headsets, which they still do. And I decided I needed to get one of those, but I couldn't find one. And one day, whoever the cleanup crew was left one there. So I put it in to my backpack. I don't know. So I had to come home and I had to solder it because at the time I was thinking I want to do play-by-play, and I soldered the end of it so I could put on like a 1/4 inch, whatever, to go into my ghetto blaster, and so I could tape it. And I would watch Hockey Night in Canada, whatever the game was, and I would do my homework on who the starting lineup was, who was playing, and I was like calling play-by-play into a cassette tape, like at my house. So Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada, and I pretended like I was the play-by-play guy because that's how much I was passionate about doing it. And I did some for TV. It was, which is Cogeco now, but it was, oh my God, it was
Rogers.
No, it wasn't Rogers. My God, I can't think of what it's called. Anyway, it's called something. Well, it's been changed many times now, but whatever the cable company was called back then, McLean Hunter.
Wow.
Old school, right?
Yeah.
And so I did the Junior B games. Right. And the funny thing is that I hosted because Reg Redshaw was doing some of the play-by-play and Roger Bouchard. So I was a young kid, and so I was like doing like the intermission stuff, the Ron McLean stuff. And the funny thing is that I left that after 2 or 3 years, and I still have the VHS tapes downstairs of these games. If I could just find somewhere to play them.
I was just going to say, how do you do that?
Yeah. And so here's a really cool story. Derek Wills was the guy. I think that's how you say his last name. Willis or Wills. He was the guy who followed me. Like, he took my job. Derek's the play-by-play announcer for the Calgary Flames right now.
Oh, no way.
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
So
you took your career.
Yeah. So I'm like, there goes my career. It's gone. I mean, Derek's got it, but just, yeah. And he was a super cool guy, but yeah. So my thought was always to go into sports and hockey, and then music kind of became part of it. And then that's just what I do now, is music.
Yeah. Well, and you do it everywhere though. And the hosting thing though, like, you host gigs all over. it's not even like, I want to say all over Niagara, but you're coast to coast, all from Vancouver to the East Coast, and you've done some stuff in the States. Like,
Yeah.
how did that come to fruition? Is that just something you stumbled into? Is that something you look for?
No, so there's a real connection in how this happens. Is that 8 years ago, I decided to go and work with Canadian Music Week as a volunteer. Okay. So I was just like somebody running errands, doing whatever. Not errands, but I was just kind of there floating around, learning, doing a few different things. And then I wanted to host it. So Dania Dixon, her father, Neil Dixon, owns Canadian Music Week. And I got to know Dania and Neil, and Randy Rowe, who's from Welland, kind of hooked me up, if you know Randy. And so I kind of got started doing it that way. And then as things progress, I said, well, I want to host a room. So they would give me like a little small room, you know, that had like 40 people in it. And you would host it and introduce the speakers. And then as time went on, I was like, can I get a bigger room? You know, and then you move to a bigger room. And then I wanted to moderate panels. And I think the pinnacle came in 2019, because it didn't happen in 2020, when I got to host the producers panel. Like Jermaine was there, Dupree, and so many great names and producers. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, these people are like, you know, these people are like superstars. But you learn, right? And you do your homework, and, you know, you just ask the questions. You don't have to know the answers.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to know what you want to ask and what people want to hear. And so I did that. And then where the connection comes to Grow Up and to O Cannabis is that Canadian Music Week owns O Cannabis.
Oh.
Randy Rowe owns Grow Up. You see, so it's all connected. It's like you do work over here, then you do that. So now I have a paid position at CMW, like when it's on, because I also do like some of the speaker profiling stuff and just kind of getting it all sorted out as far as what rooms, who the hosts are going to be. And so it's kind of expanded a little bit, but Randy runs Grow Up. So he hires me to be the main host and kind of do some of that. And Dania and Neil do O Cannabis. So it's kind of just, it's all connected, and they're coast to coast. Connected. Right. It's all connected. Right. So,
and through them, you've met Ricky and Montel now.
Right. And Montel, that's right. And I got, you know, I met briefly David Grohl when he was down at CMW, and, you know, there's been many people, great people through CMW, and some are nicer than others. And some are, you know, a little more personal to talk to. And some are, you know, Mike Rapino was great from Live Nation. You know, like Mike Rapino is the president of Live Nation and super nice guy. And interesting stories. Mike Rapino worked for the same company my dad worked for, which was Labatt's. Many years. Yeah. So I have a Labatt tattoo somewhere on my arm here. I can't pull my shirt up far enough, but I do have a Labatt tattoo on my arm somewhere.
Right. Mixed in with all the others.
Yeah. For my dad. And I showed Mike Rapino that because I was like, you worked for Labatt's, right? Back in, it would have been early 90s, I guess. And now he's the president of Live Nation. So
nice. Where is that? Back in London? London's the Labatt?
No, well, it is. You're right. But it was actually in Kitchener. Okay. Is where the head office was. But my dad worked. They had one in Hamilton. Then they closed out. My dad ended up going to Toronto. And so they had Toronto, Kitchener, London. And I think now they've closed over Toronto. I think it's just London. I don't even know. I drink JP Weisers. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I know. And I'm a fake rocker, so I drink a lot of JD. Like, that's basically it now. I don't really drink beer anymore. Yeah. So, but
yeah, that's how that kind of stuff happens. You know, it's like, it's all about connecting with people, and you got to prove yourself. You got to show up. You got to do, and you know what I always tell people, you got to do shit you don't want to do to get the stuff you do want to do. It's the way it is. Like, you really do. Like, nobody just says, here's Hair Nation on Sirius XM. Have a good day, sir. Like, right. Or, you know, you need to kind of work your way to do that. And I've been fortunate with Giant too. They've been great to me. They're just super people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, you work there, you know.
Yeah. You know, I didn't want to, you know, but no, I'm still working my way up. I need Pete to see my demo. So, no, so now you're kind of more into the 2020 mode of relax and just doing the DJing because everything is shut down. How has that been for you after, you know, the previous what, 5 years at least. It's been
Oh,
every
yeah.
day there's something.
Well, so two things. It sucks not to host live events because there's energy. I like live music. I like people. That really sucks. But think of it this way. The Industry 45 show is a show I host for Giant Media. You can get on giantfm.com, country89.com. But because artists are not touring, you're getting to interview bigger name artists. Like I interviewed Kathy Valentine from the Go-Go's like 2 weeks ago. And, people from Tesla, or people play with Jason Aldean or Carrie Underwood, or like the scale, is large, and you're only getting it probably because they got nothing else to do. Right.
Right.
What the hell? Who's this guy? We'll talk to him. Sure. So you're getting to the opportunity because if the touring world was happening right now, it'd be harder to get those people. It would be harder to sit down with people that are global superstars. Because number one, talking to a little guy who's in Southern Niagara, they might go, yeah. And like, they're either busy doing big media or they don't have time to do much at all other than big networks, NBC, whatever. Right. So Sirius XM. So that's been a good thing. I've looked at it and thought, you know what? There's opportunity in this because now people are at home. So when you reach out to people and say, I want a conversation, they might say, why not? Like, I mean, and plus,
better to do.
Well, and I have credentials behind me. I've got Giant FM. I've got Country 89. Like, when you have a brand,
yeah, for sure,
it's easier to get those interviews. If I'm sitting there saying my name is Shane and I'm doing this because I want to put it on my Facebook, and probably not going to happen. But when you have a brand to put it behind, or rather the brand's behind you, that there's more opportunity and you get more yeses. But I will say this, I don't do it on my own. Another thing I would say is that I connected with some people in Los Angeles who work for basically, publicists, worked for Capitol in Hollywood, wherever, through their careers. And now they're representing different artists. So now the interviews come a lot easier because they contact me.
Yes.
Like I got the email saying, Shane, can you do an interview with Kathy Valentine from the Go-Go's? Like, I don't know how to reach her. Like, I mean, right. So sure I will. So they send you the links, and make it all happen. And same with Steve Gorman from the Black Crowes. He's got Hard to Handle, great book out from the Black Crowes. And I read that and I got to do that interview, and just like, but those are people connecting me. That's not me, just going on to Facebook saying, hey, can you talk to me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are people doing it for you.
9 times out of 10, they're going to say no to you anyways. If you go,
absolutely.
Like, don't you have a publicist to go through?
Yeah. So that's a key, is having those people that, and I will say this, sometimes you get interviews, like they'll say, do you want to do an interview with this artist, whoever it is? And I'm like, I guess I don't know who that is. And well, so you do the interview. This is a true story. So guy's name is Josh, lives in California, great drummer, didn't know him. I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know who he is, but he ends up, which I didn't know at the time, playing with Mark Slaughter.
Oh shit.
So I got an interview with Mark Slaughter, right? Because it gets even better. So one day I posted on my socials, I wanted an interview with Liberty DeVito, right? From Billy Joel's band. And he's got a book out. And all of a sudden I got an inbox from Josh. He goes, Liberty's a friend of mine. He goes, hold on, let me message him and I'll find out. All right. So week goes by, he goes, okay, Liberty got back to me. He'll do the interview with you, but you have to go through his publicist, which is just the way it is. Right. So I said, no problem. So he's going to email you. Publicist emails me. I represent Liberty DeVito. You want an interview. So I send him all my stuff back. He accepts it, sets up an interview. And I did an interview with Liberty DeVito like a week later. Like, see what I mean? Like, it's just like, I don't know Liberty DeVito. I mean, from anything.
It's networking. And that's the one thing most people don't understand. Networking is key when it comes to entertainment. And I would say so almost in real life too. It's always 100%. Been who you know. It's who you know, how did you get that job at working as a Hydro One worker or whatever? Right. Well, my dad knew this guy who knew this guy, or whatever.
It's funny because at the beginning you were mentioning the shot. So the other connection is that Danya Dixon from Canadian Music Week was a judge on the shot.
Right.
But she couldn't do I did 2 years. So 2 years ago, she couldn't do that season. So I got a message from CJ Allen saying, Daniel Dixon sent me your name to be a judge on the shot. Are you interested? Now, I knew CJ because CJ was also at Canadian Music Week, who was a host a little bit. So I knew who he was.
Right.
And so she recommended me to him. We had the conversation. Now I've done it for 2 years. And so again, it's all about that connection of people. Now, Danya's back this year and we're both doing it.
Nice.
So she got me the original job, but we're both still on the panel. So, but yeah, so it's about people, and just, you got to find the right people, but then you got to prove yourself too, right? Like, you got to show that you're going to show up, you're going to do a good job, you're not an asshole, like whatever, like you need to prove yourself. But then once you do that, it opens the door somewhere else. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, so now you can go over to this space. Or, when somebody wants a host, they say, well, hey, call Shane, he can come and do it. Right. Because you've proved yourself to that person or that group of people. Right. So, but it's all connected.
It truly is. I'm
just like Hollywood.
I gotta tell you, 2020 was a little upsetting for me just for that fact, because I was going to be, I think this was the year I was hosting the most, like scheduled to host the most live events, like, the Comic Cons and and then I do also the 420 con for them there as well. So, it was a lot of lost opportunities on networks, like you said.
Right.
Networking is key.
So you were working for Matt or no?
No, Matt, I was James.
Okay, so 420. I don't know what Matt's role is. Matt Anthony. I don't know what. I know he's part of it. No. Okay.
No, I was basically when they have celebrity panels and stuff like that.
You did that last year.
Yeah. So I did that last year at the 420 con, and then I do it at all the Comic Cons. Like I host everybody, the Cobra Kai panel, the Married with Children, all the wrestling panels they always give me. So, but it's
but that really it did suck. I mean, that was the big thing. But I guess it's all perspective, and again, if you can find some positives out of it and do things, and then like eventually, I think this world's going to go back to somewhat normal eventually.
Whatever that new normal is.
Right. But think of the way I look at it is that some people I've met that are pretty big stars who now will text me and I can text, and have conversations with, I've had like 2 and 3 interviews with David Ellefson of Megadeth. And I'm the first one to tell David, I don't even fucking like Megadeth. I mean, they're okay and all, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's a super dude. He's got his own coffee line. And he's got one of the biggest, metal bands ever. And he's just a super dude. But my point is, you make these relationships along the way. Who knows what's going to happen in the years to come when they're playing somewhere and you get a chance to go or meet them in person or go backstage or whatever. Kevin Rankin became a friend of mine, drummer for the Flock of Seagulls. And I love the Flock of Seagulls. And Kevin's a super dude. And, we chat all the time. And it's like, it'd be great when the Flock of Seagulls can play in Toronto or something and I can go and meet these people in person. And, so you kind of look at perspective of what you can get out of it, because like not being able to host events really sucked.
Oh yeah. Well, like you said, I think one of the biggest things that you miss is that energy, like off
absolutely
every panel. Like, I don't know about you, but when I host a panel, I want the crowd to be up and ready before whoever the talent is that's coming out there. Now, I'll go and meet with the talent ahead of time and say, hey, I'll be hosting your panel, blah, blah, blah. But then about 20 minutes before they go out, I'm on stage, not on stage, but I'm out there and warming up the crowd. Because can you imagine being hosting a panel, coming out there and nobody says a word?
Right.
Nobody wants to ask any questions or anything like that.
No,
and that's all absolutely. I do. You go out there and ask some questions. Like, and that feeling you get, I wonder, at least for you, is it anything like being behind the drums and playing in front of a crowd? Is it different?
No, I think it's nervous excitement all the time. So whether you're drumming or whether you're hosting an event, it's almost like when you're going on stage to play and it's a good crowd, it's a festival, your parts, what you have to do, but you have a nervous energy, but you can't wait to get there. And you can't wait till the lights come on and you're ready to go. And I think it's the same when you host something. I mean, the panel I did at CMW, especially because there was so many people there and so many industry people, I was like pacing, but not because I was nervous, because I was like, let's go now. Like, what are we waiting for? You know? So it's a nervous energy and you're like, okay. And you can feel your heart beating, but as soon as you start it, you just, yeah, okay, we're here. Let's go. You know what I mean? So I think it's pretty much the same, you know, just
almost sounds like sports too. Like we're ready before a big game. Just
big
like, let's get it over.
Yeah.
Wait,
like you're nervous, but you're like
5 o'clock and I got to wait 2 hours before the game starts.
But it's like when you're interviewing people and you know, like, and I still get that a little bit here and there with people I got to interview. But I think if I've done my homework and I know what I'm talking about and I'm confident, I'm nervous, but I'm okay because I know I can make this happen. And I'm going to tell you something that George Stroumboulopoulos said to me. He was interviewing Michael Rapino from Live Nation 2 or 3 years ago. And it was probably 500 people in the room. George was in the room. Mike Rapino was there, a bunch of people. And George and I were chatting. And he says, okay, I got to go. I said to him, like, do you have your notes on you? Like, do you leave them in there? And you know what he said to me? He says, I don't have any notes. He said, I've spent a week reading, preparing. If I don't know what I'm talking about now, it's too late. Doesn't matter. He said, I just, it's going to be in the moment. And I know, and I've done my homework. I'm okay. Like, I'll make it happen. And he does, because George is fucking amazing. But I mean, that to me spoke volumes, because I was like, holy shit, prepare. It's like in music, you go over the song, you go, you'll deliver it. You will. You got to have your confidence. But that nervous feeling, and I'm sure George was like walking into the room going, holy crap, but he just delivered because he did his homework. You know, he wasn't sitting there thinking, where am I going to go? And you have little points in your head too, that, you know, if you get lost somewhere, I'm going here, you know?
I'm going to bring it back to this, because I know this is where we wanted to get to it.
Right. Yeah. That's all you need to know.
Segue somewhere.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, and plus George is a great live interview because he goes off what's going on in the moment, right? Like he's not, you know, nothing's worse than people who write out. And sometimes I write out general questions, but that's not the order of questions. That's more if there's a lull and we're not really going anywhere. I've got a place to go, because when people talk in the moment, it's like you and I having this conversation where you're sitting at a bar. It's better shoot the shit.
Exactly.
Get it done. You know,
and I kind of find that, like, every interview I do, I usually have like points up, just points of reference. Like, okay, this is what they did. They did this. But aside from that, I have maybe 1 question, 2 questions that I set for each interview. And then the rest of my questions are based off of what the answers are. Yeah. And you know where I heard that? Fucking Barbara Walters.
Yeah.
Like, legit. Like, seriously. I remember hearing her say that in an interview once. And I think they even referenced it in class, like first year for broadcasting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, like, it makes sense. And it's more natural, and it proves that you're paying attention to the people and caring about what they're saying. Right.
And the funny thing was when I was talking about Kevin Rankin from A Flock of Seagulls, and at the end he goes, that was a cool conversation. He goes, like, you were really prepared for that. And I went, well, yeah, but I said, it's just, you're a cool guy to talk to. And I said, I always think if I was going to pull up to a bar stool in New York City, because it's still my favorite place to go when I can go, and sat down beside somebody that I knew a little bit about, like, and what would that conversation look like? You know, like, what would we talk about? What would I want to know? What would I want to ask them?
Yeah.
And then, like, the points that you have, like what you were saying, you write down a few points, because you don't want to get lost either, right? So you need to go, okay, I need to go to the new single before we're done, because that's why this guy's talking to me, you know, like, so you have a few bullet points to make sure you hit them. But at the end of the day, it's about having the conversation with somebody. And that's why Barbara Walters, although she's a little more, I don't think she's quite, well, she's not quite as natural. She's more like, she's got an agenda, and she's going to find out what she needs to find out. So because she's reporting more than she is having a conversation. Right. More than she is having a conversation. But George Stroumboulopoulos, you know, like, that's what he does. That's why people like him do it so well. You know, I listen to people who interview, and you just go, man, like, and nobody does it better. I know I was not a fan at the beginning, but, you know, Howard Stern is, he just understands how to have a conversation with somebody, but he's been doing it forever. And you know, he's always been that kind of natural, gifted conversation.
And he switched it up. Like, he's very good at, he'll ask you stuff that he knows you're going to say no to.
Right.
Just so he knows that you'll answer the question he really wants you to answer.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll ask you, you know, how many times you've had sex
Right.
with whatever, this and that and the other. And then it gets to, so what did you really think working on set with this person?
Right.
You know? And
so he's going, well, that's an easier answer than who I've had sex with. So I'm going to answer that now.
exactly. And it's brilliant though, when you think about it.
He's brilliant. He's no wonder Sirius XM pays him the money they pay him. Right. But yeah, so I think it's all about those cool conversations, you know, to me anyway.
So given that, moving forward 2021, what does that look like for you? What is Shane's 2021 look
well, you know what? In my goal in 2020, once it became a shit show, was to make sure I could get media out there. So I created my website, ShaneChristopherNeal.com. And it was a place that I could house everything, you know, whether it's country, classic rock, The Shot, anything I did for BS Live, which we haven't talked about, but BS Live Rocks, which is a show on Your TV Ontario, which is a music magazine show, but I could put it all there and have its home. So my goal was really to put everything into a nice place and do that. You know, heading into 2021, there's a lot of momentum with the Industry 45 because I had so many great named guests. So I thought of this the other day. I'm creating right now a list of really reaching up there to see what I can get out of it. And I'll give you an example. I've sent Kenny Aronoff 3 messages. I've not heard anything from him.
Right.
I may never interview him. Being a drummer, I think he's amazing. His work with John Cougar Mellencamp. Many people don't know his first #1 single came with Belinda Carlisle with Heaven Is a Place on Earth. But I've read his book. But that to me is a up there goal. So trying to set some of those goals and finding out how to reach them, using contacts to do that. Cause sometimes that's what you need is somebody to reach out. And you know what? Radio is still something I do almost every week, you know, at either Giant or Country. So, you know, this show will probably come out afterwards, but there's a New Year's Eve show I did for Giant and which was a classic rock and review show. And, you know, Country, so I fill in wherever and I like it. It's fun and they treat me so good and I just like doing it. So I just more of that kind of stuff as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
And you're one of those rare people that I see, especially on social media, that I never see you complain about anything, except for maybe not having enough alcohol in your drink. Like that might be like, what do you mean? Funny. Last call.
No, but it's funny because, and I say this to my girlfriend too, is that I don't know, to me, social media, I'm only going to put out stuff that I think that is going to benefit somebody or it's going to be of interest. I have my own political views. I have my own views of the pandemic. I have my own views of our vaccines. No one gives a shit what I think because there's a million other people that have other opinions. So I really don't. That's not a place I'll share it. If you and I were sitting at a bar and you asked me, I'd ask, you know, that's different. But I just find with social media, I like to promote music and people and things that are going on. And so, yeah, I have no desire to complain about much. My daughter listens to me complain at home here.
Right.
Oh yeah. She's like, but other than that,
she's probably hoping that you would start complaining on social media so she wouldn't hear it.
She wouldn't hear it, right? Well, she'll be 21 now, and but no, even in life, I just kind of think, you know what, things are what they are. You make the best of them. You know, today I had a conversation with my mom, and my mom's 85. She's got cancer. She's had cancer for a number of years now, but. And she's doing okay, but I said to her when she was talking about online shopping and all these crazy, and I'm like, you know what, Mom? I said, life is always going to move on, pandemic or no pandemic. And people bitch about Amazon. And my answer to my mother was, do you know Amazon buys their stuff from like people like businesses, right? Like they don't make their own shit.
They're not Santa.
No. So they are supporting something in this. But I guess my point in this is that things progress in life and move on. And I think you either got to accept it and kind of find a way to maneuver it, or don't and be miserable. I mean, I don't know. I don't choose that route. I think I'm trying to look after my health. I try to run now. I exercise every day. I drink JP Weiser's 15-year-old because it's better for me. You know, and I have a great relationship with my girlfriend, and my daughter and I have an awesome relationship here. Like I have nothing to fucking complain about. And we're talking to me as a media person. My job, my real job in life is a purchaser and a sales manager for a construction distributor, which I do 5 days a week. And our sales at the end of 2020 will be fucking better than they have been for the past decade. Like, so I have nothing to complain about. Work is good. I've done my job for 20 years. I have autonomy there, which allows me to do all the stuff that we're talking about.
How do you get this all accomplished?
Right. So to me, it's like, that's how it works. Like I make money at doing this. Don't get me wrong. I make most of my money doing the other just because the nature of it. But I mean, that's what I'm saying to people. You can find ways to make shit happen. If you love radio, get into radio. I get it. Radio isn't going to pay you a ton of money unless you're in a major market. If you're on a major station, but you can still find ways to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when I get offered, shifts to do, I'm like, sure. I mean, whether I make $400 a month or fucking $2,000, whatever, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not paying my bills with it, so I'm using it as fun money.
Yeah.
But you can do what you love to do, you know what I mean? And find a way to do it and make it happen and not be bitchy about it. So
it's a great message moving into 2021. That's for sure.
Yeah. Shane, it's going to be a shit show coming in 2021. Letting you know anyway.
Yeah. So how can folks get a hold of you? Where can they find you on?
Don't fucking call me because I'm too busy. No.
Don't I know it?
No. So my website, ShaneChristopherNeal.com. You can reach me there. And also my email, Shane@country89.com. I'm not sure how I got the country email, not the job. I don't even ask, but that's what they gave me. So Shane@country89.
I have on there either. I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah, by email. And I'm on social media under Shane Christopher Neal. And I'm on Instagram under On Air with SCN. I think. Yes, that's what it changes once in a while, but yeah. So I love Instagram.
Any news on BTS or The Shot?
For The Shot, it's funny. I just got a message today about a meeting. It's going to happen in 2021. Auditions are opening, I think January 7th, something like that.
Okay.
And it's, as far as I know, obviously right now it's going to be virtual. I had a hard time last year because the year before it was in person, and you know me, Ryan. So I'm more of an in-person person,
right. Right.
I really am. So it's a little bit of a struggle online and the dynamics of listening and paying attention to music. But at the same time, I've had to learn how to be better at it because I don't have a choice. And so The Shot's going to start up again, but I don't know the whole dynamics of how it's going to look or all that. I just know it's coming again in 2021. And with BS Live Rocks, we're filming January's episodes via Zoom, in station, like in the TV station, but with our guests via Zoom. But we've filmed since the beginning of September in person.
Right.
So so we haven't had an issue. And so, BS Live Rocks is on Your TV Niagara, Your TV Ontario, HD 700 across the network, and channel 10 locally here. Right. If you have code, you have to have coach code together.
Yeah.
But so it's a music magazine show, and it's mostly local stuff, which is cool. But that's gonna carry till June, whether it's by fucking Zoom or in studio. It's gonna happen. So, and I got Eric Johnston helping me a little bit with some of the co-hosting. Like Bobby Rock does some of it too.
Okay.
But Eric's coming up just now for a few reasons. But Eric's a comedian.
I was just gonna say stand-up comedian. I just shared he's working with a director friend of mine, Josh Furman.
Yeah.
We just did Eric Santa Claus.
Yes. Eric is like the best person in the world other than you. But he's so cool and he's so fucking talented. Like I've seen some of his comedy shows like live in person, and he's such a gifted, talented comedian, and he's just a fun guy. Like, and he's in the music space. He's a judge on The Shot, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Eric. Yeah. So again, connections and right. This is how, so I called him and I said, can you help me out just for a little bit? Brian's coming back, but just he was like, yeah, absolutely. Let me know when and where and how. And super funny guy and fun. And so that's that. But the show is going to carry on in some capacity until the summer, until they kick us out, I guess. I don't know. We're 5 years now on TV doing it. So still finding content somehow, and no venues. And you know what, Ryan, we used to go out to like a ton of local shows, and we used to get the interviews there, and we used to get all of the, right. That's where it was all happening. And then we'd bring that in, have a segment on the TV show. We do some in-studio stuff. And then we would do these
live
little
from
features,
Golden Brothers,
right, or wherever the hell it was. But that hasn't happened like in a year, right? So that's been a challenge, but we just decided, like I said earlier, you adapt, you figure it out, and you make it happen somehow for 28 minutes.
Awesome.
So that's what's going on.
Sounds like no matter what happens in 2021, you're still gonna have a pretty busy year as per usual. Yeah, I'm gonna find a way to make it happen and keep out of trouble. Maybe that's a good thing about not getting out. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. My daughter's like, it's 3 a.m. Where are you? I'm in the basement drinking. Yes. So, and I do, by the way, last thing is that we actually had 2 or 3 bands we were like working with Randy Bishop, Tracy Blades. Okay. Yeah. And we had an acoustic 3-piece and another rock band, and we were getting our rehearsals in, and then of course now we can't do anything. So for the next 3 weeks or whatever, but we're hoping to get out and play like in the spring and summer. And the acoustic thing was brought on because that's where things are going right now. Lower volumes. They're not going to pay you as much money. Yeah. Right. Like these restaurants and bars don't have the capital or won't have the capital to be paying $800,000 to bands, unless there's ticket sales and there's other, bigger events around it. But so we put a 3-piece together, and we thought we're going to do like kind of an acoustic thing. Ray Ladisser's doing it. Great guitar player, singer, and Randy and I, and just kind of keeping it simple and fun and a little quieter. And then we decided to do a full-on rock ensemble too with a couple other people, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I want to get out and play, and it's been, I think the last gig we did, we got to play a COVID gig, which was at Club 55 in Thorold. Niagara on the Lake, but I'm trying to think when. I think it was October. Okay. October. Something like that. October, November, October, I think it was. So. Yeah, I felt like there was a point there where everyone was trying to get all the bands in they could there for as long as they could before lockdown hit again. And then they're like, yeah. So, but I don't know what it's going to look like, Ryan. I really don't. I mean, nobody does, but it's not, it doesn't look like it's getting better anytime soon. No. It's really shitty. So, well, we'll see. Hopefully by the time we get out here, get this on the air, we'll have some new news at least. Right. About how things are looking. Maybe next time we do this, I'll get Ricky Lake to join us, and we can. If you got Ricky Lake to join us, I'm not even gonna lie. I cannot find that video anywhere. I know 2 people that have it that refuse to put it out there. Yeah. So, but you hook that up with Ricky, and her and I will share one of these. Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. I was excited to do this. We didn't get to do it last week, but we got to do it this week. So sorry about the last week thing. Just everything with this New Year's show has just kind of been crazy. So yeah, I see you're doing that. Yeah, that's right. Eh? So good for you. Well, your cheers is going to be in there. Thank you. Yes, your cheers is going to be part of our chain. So I love it. No, thank you, buddy. I'll let Guy Fieri know, that actually I'm irritated because this time every year for 12, 13 years now, mid-January, I'm in Vegas for a week and a half. Yeah. And I for events and for stuff and to go to Guy's place. That's where I got this apparently. But it's not happening. You say this time of year you're normally in Vegas for what? Yeah, mid-January. 3rd or 4th time. Of the year. Yeah. Well, but it's consistently in January. The other times are sporadic, but January is always consistent. And I'm there for the Super Bowl, but that ain't happening. Well, the Super Bowl's happening, but I won't be there for it. No, I've never been one day. That's definitely on my bucket list. It's like a second home. Many years I've been there many times, and you're going to go with me. We'll take you to all the right places. And all the private clubs and all the private clubs. I'm down and slightly afraid. It'll be good times. Let me tell you. So awesome. Well,
Trust me.
Shane Christopher Neal, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and enlightening our folks and fans at home all about you and what you got going on.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. Well, hopefully I'll see you in person soon.
Yeah, exactly. Be able to cheers Jack Daniels and a JP Weisers. Right. All right, brother. Well, okay, for Shane Christopher Neal, I am your boy Zeus, and this has been another edition of RatG TV.
Love you, man.
You too, brother. Peace.
Talk to you soon. From Guy Fieri and Shane Christopher Neal, Happy New Year.